I saw Kate Jackson for the first time in 38 years. It was an emotional reunion. We spent 14, 15 hours a day with each other every day for 4 years until Kate had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I think I'm safe to say that now. But Katie and I, as soon as we saw each other, it's like the years just fell away. And we grabbed a hold of each other and just hugged. And we were doing a panel at this big reunion. I looked out into a sea of women, older grandmas, mothers, and bringing their daughters of tears. We had, it gives me a chill to think about it. And we just held each other and cried too. It was the biggest cry fest I've ever been in. Crying fest.
Something we've never talked about, because we always talk about the Westerns and Western history, film history, is Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
Scarecrow and Mrs. King, yeah.
Huge for you, huge.
It was. Remember, I had a real quick, I had a first season, some fellow named Jay Bernstein came into my life. And the good, bad, or whatever, the ugly of Jay's life. And
how did you meet Jay? How did you meet him?
I was TV. I did. Do you remember there was an you know television history as well. Susanna Summers and a thing called Three's Company was this huge hit for, I believe it was ABC. And do you remember the movie of the week phenomena started to happen? And it was a great way for series when on their off seasons, the stars would go and do one of these MOWs for the net.
The Burning Bad or something like that, was it?
No, that was Farrah Fawcett. And she did a lot of them.
He handled her too, didn't he?
Yes, he did. All these blondes. And he was handling Suzanne Summers, and I got cast opposite her in sort of a take on the play Bus Stop. Do you remember that? Don
Murray?
Yeah, Don Murray and Marilyn Monroe. And only I was a young lumberjack, and she was a cocktail waitress that sang, and she aspired to be this singer, and it was Suzanne Summers. Well, here was the controversy. I'm trying to think of the powerful producer at the time. She jumped contract and went and did a CBS television movie, which you didn't do that. Fred
Silverman?
Fred Silverman was the head of that network, was the head of
ABC then.
Yeah. She jumped and went over to CBS and did a TV movie of the week. It was a huge kerfuffle. I mean, in the industry, nobody cared outside of
under Jay's guidance, though. He said
under Jay's guidance, and that's how we get around to Jay Bernstein. I'm out in Banning, California, playing a scene in a jail in which she comes in there, and he had come to set with her that day. And here's this flamboyant guy with a cane, a beard, these sort of Elvis sunglasses, a toupee that was perfectly coiffed, flashy clothes, and they all said Jay Bernstein's coming out here. That's where I first met him. It went on later, and that whole controversy went away, and it was this goofy little movie. It was that TV movie in which Jay saw me. I was feeling that I had some momentum going on, and this is not unusual in our industry. I had some momentum, and I was losing this momentum. I was working a lot of these, the miniseries for him. I did East of Eden, The Last Convertible. They were huge miniseries at the time with all the big stars. And anyway, I went to a party. My wife and I, Kitty and I, had gone to, my first wife, I had gone to this party in Malibu. We weren't big party goers or, being seen is seeing, being seen, that type of thing. But there was Jay there. And he said, we met with Suzanne on the whatever that TV movie was again. And, they made hundreds of them. And he said, yes, 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 yes. And I said, I'm in a quandary. Do you have 5 or 10 minutes? I'd love to talk to you about this. You know this industry, you know the things. And at the time, he was partnered up with a guy named Larry Thompson, who I think had been a show business lawyer or whatever. But he was trying to and they had formed a team. And that's how it kind of began. I wasn't happy with my management at that time. I didn't know how to go about it, but I didn't want to go anywhere without having somewhere to go. I didn't want to leave without having somewhere to go. I wasn't secure like that, So anyway, that's how I met Suzanne Summers, was through, and I met Jay Bernstein. He turned my life around. Suddenly, we're over at Columbia, and Raiders of the Lost Ark was happening. And that was the big movie trend. And as you know, Rob, that movies, TV shows kind of trend, whatever the trend was in the film world, especially that type of action adventure, television would try to copy. We had Battlestar Galactica after Star Wars, if you remember, and things like that. So anyway, we tried to find the sort of character. They had a script. George Schenck and Frank Cardia had written, and it was a true hero of the 1930s, 20s, 1930s, and a sort of an Indiana Jones type character. It was called Bring 'Em Back Alive. We did that for CBS. It came on, and Jay executive produced, and we made it to about 17 episodes, 18 episodes, somewhere around there, maybe even less. And every night I was struggling. We were doing well, but we were up against, we came in number 2 every Tuesday night, or what was it, 8 o'clock. It was 8 o'clock action adventure show, period, though, And they always said, well, period doesn't really work. Yeah, I don't believe that. But anyway, every night I was on the phone to Bud Grant at CBS going, just hang with us. I know we're going to get it. But we were up against the 10th season of Happy Days, which was a juggernaut. ABC was killing it with that. So we always came in number 2.
Yeah, because it was Happy Days followed by Laverne and Shirley. So there was a form.
Yes.
That's tough to go again.
They owned that block. And we made good numbers. And I always tried to keep track of that years later. What did CBS have in there? We still made better numbers than just about anybody they put in our place. But I get it. It's a business, TV. And when you only had 3 networks in your local channel, it was a battle royale for every hour.
So CBS liked you, and then you did Scarecrow and Mrs. King following Bring 'Em Back Alive.
Exactly. So Jay and we did that, and Jay was immediately in there, and we had a meeting with Bud Grant, and he said, don't worry, Bruce. We loved what you did with it. It just was the hour, and blah, blah, blah. They gave me all of that. I was so exhausted and also so disillusioned that I'd gone out there on my maiden voyage, and but I learned a great deal. Then they said they came up with something. I had a choice between 2 scripts. Now you got to remember, Rob, I didn't have this kind of ability to be offered things, But this is where Jay worked his magic, and I had to do a lot of publicity and things like that. He was great at that. Later on, that would go away too, his relationship, and that's just show business.
Scarecrow and Mrs. King was a solid success and ran for several years, too.
Yes, it did. We did a pilot for this. I got these 2 scripts, and I'm looking at this quirky thing called The Scarecrow and Mrs. King. First episode was the pilot episode, and it was called The First Time. And then I had this other one called The Yellow Rose, with John Wilder writing and producing. And it was a contemporary ranch story. Dallas was still the rage going on, and this story. And I believe it was going to be, was Sam in that thing? I think
Sam was in that. Noah Berry, Sybil Shepherd. It was big.
That's right.
And
so
it was a big flop, though, too.
Yes. But I had this thing, and of course, where I was leaning right away. I read this thing, and I'm going, but there was something nagging at me about this little quirky thing about a housewife somehow gets mixed up in the middle of an espionage caper with this guy whose code name is Scarecrow, like Scarecrow and the Wizard of Oz. And that opening episode, I laughed out loud. I didn't ever, it was fun. It was exciting. It was quirky. It was 8 o'clock television now. Please understand, it was not what moonlighting became in 9 o'clock in that hour. But it had a certain kind of quirky sense of humor at first. The best part about it was former Charlie's Angel. She was that kind of wonderfully popular actress at that time. That was a major. Everyone remembers Charlie's Angels. Farrah Fawcett, Anyway, Kate was going to star as Mrs. King, Amanda King, divorced housewife, 2 sons and her mother living with her in suburban Arlington, Virginia. And it was this quirky, wonderful fantasy story about her getting with this secret agent, and basically mother by day, housewife, and by night she's out saving the free world.
That's a great concept, though. And you were top billed, Scarecrow.
Yes.
There you go.
But it was fun. I still have a female following for this, and some guys too, they're the SMK. And just a few months ago, I did in Burbank at the Hollywood Show, I saw Kate Jackson for the first time in 38 years. And I have to say, it was an emotional reunion. We spent 14, 15 hours a day with each other every day for 4 years until Kate had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I think I'm safe to say that now. And that woman has soldiered on and gone through so much. Obviously, we had to quit. It went off in its 4th season. I really do believe, and I think she agrees, we would have gone on for probably a couple more seasons. We were still doing really wonderfully well, ratings wise. And, but this happened and it changed everything. But Katie and I, as soon as we saw each other, it's like the years just fell away, and we grabbed a hold of each other and just hugged. And we were doing a panel at this big reunion get together with the remainders of the cast who were still with us, and some guest stars came by, former guest stars. And I looked out into a sea of women, older grandmas, mothers, and bringing their daughters of tears. We had, it gives me a chill to think about it. And we just held each other and cried too. It was the biggest cry fest I've ever been in. Crying fest.
Years of happiness.
Years of happiness, because they still love that show. These women have fond memories, whether they were young girls with their mothers watching the show or what have you.
And you all had so many guest stars going through that too, as most shows of that time did too. Big names.
We had a great one. Now, let me bring it up. Who was an old buddy of yours as well, Doug McClure.
Oh, yeah.
Who played a wonderful character, that he played a secret agent. And he had gotten a little, and he started living this out and started getting involved in real espionage, and he was a TV actor. It was...
Well, I want to see that show.
It was great. He had to do a fencing with foils at the very end while he has lit my apartment. Lee Stetson. And by the way, my name was Lee Stetson.
Yes.
I was a top secret agent for the agency. Okay. We never mentioned anything like CIA or anything, but we shot that in Europe too in the summer of '84 because the Olympics was shooting in Los Angeles, which they're going to do again soon. And so we couldn't shoot on the streets. On those shows, you were 4 days out and 3 days at the studio, and that would be a 7-day shoot. You made a movie in 7 days, an hour-long movie. And that's how it was. And you turned out, hopefully, 22 of them in a season. Remember talking to some of those old guys like Robert Culp and guys When they did those, and they did 36 episodes.
They did 39.
39 episodes. Can you imagine? I'd have been dragging on my knees.
And now you look at the old guy or whatever, Kurt Russell's or Jeff Bridges' show is, and there's like 6 episodes.
Yes, that's a series now.
Then you wait a year for the next set of 6 or 8, maybe.
If we were lucky, we got picked up for 13, and then we got the
back 9.
It's all these old things. Sounds like a golf.
It's like when we did Young Blades, we got the 13, but we didn't get that.
That was an exciting time for us too, though.
Yeah, that was
a fun show.
Yeah, we have fun, don't we?
I've enjoyed every bloody minute of it. I've been looking back in retrospect. I got people wanting me to write a book and those kind of things like that, and I'm going. There is some bogus book that's out on me now, a memoir.
Okay. By you? Does it sound
by me? I didn't write it, but there is a book out there. I don't know.
Sounds salacious. Let me ask you about one other thing about Scarecrow, because of a lot of the people who end up doing series for several years, they have a desire to direct. That never happened to you?
We went 4 seasons. Kate, by the way, and I want to always congratulate her. What a director. And this was when Penny Marshall was starting to happen. A lot of the actresses were starting to direct. Women were getting more involved in directing. And Kate directed, I think, 2 episodes. One that was spectacular where I played my father.
You could do that now.
Yes. And it was a London. We used the old back street and created London, and it was World War II era espionage. I was an OSS agent, and I met this woman who was a secret agent as well. There was a lot of them, and during World War II, and spy versus spy type of thing, who ended up, they get together, and so I become. And I got to play him. I had a little pencil mustache and wore the fedora and everything. And Kate directed just a hell of a good episode. I forget her name. You would know her. She went on. She played Mrs. Stetson eventually in that.
But you never wanted to direct, or you never asked.
I did. I wanted to, because what better way to start? 2 series that I did. I had maybe the opportunity. I never got to do it.
Why did you not pressure to do it, or?
Well, we didn't. I think in the talks, because she had done it so successfully, she wanted me to do it too. And that proper story would come along. We'd have to think of because we had several banks of writers. We had a great team. Juanita Bartlett and hers in our 3rd and 4th season, I think, and then a guy named George Geiger took over. They left, but. Juanita came from the Rockford Files.
Sure.
James Garner's favorite. And she used to tell me those stories, and I still live by it. My job was to say her dialogue, make it work. Not some actors I used to see got very sloppy, and they would like paraphrase, and they got away with it. They'd write their own dialogue. I never liked that. My job, that was the respect to the writer. And she always said that Jim Garner would walk up to her and go, Juanita, I can't just sing. I don't know. The words just do not fall out of my mouth in this particular, these lines right here. Can we think of some way to simplify this a little more or something like that? And she would do it. But he always respected, my job was to do your words. And if I can't do them, I'm going to come to you. And we're going to work. We'll find something that works for me. And she was more than happy to do that. She always told me what a great man he was. Television. You want to talk about television and film star?
Oh yeah, and the camera loved him too. He could do no wrong.
Oh, he could do no wrong. He was just electric on the screen, and
he played too. He was a good Wyatt Earp.
Oh, he was great Wyatt Earp. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? For John Sturges,
yes,
Power of the Gun.
Sturges thought he was going to be able to talk Lancaster and Douglas into coming back to do that, and they said no, and he ended up with Garner and Jason.
Yeah, I love all of them. I always do. I think every actor has brought a lot.
When I first met Garner back in the 70s in Florida, we talked about that film, and I said, I know you were trying to do it seriously so people wouldn't think of you as Brett Maverick, and I noticed that you combed your hair on the other side. And he goes, nobody's ever mentioned that before.
I noticed it right away, too.
It looked just like this, like shit. No, it didn't. It
was like one of the early Beatles there. There we go.
No, but he was terrific in that, and it did help to change it, too.
Yes, it did.
Mustache as well, but that was a serious part. That was the vendetta, because the movie started with the gunfight at the OK Corral. The rest of it was the retribution.
Yes, the retribution. As we rode that very same ground,
and Bruce, I've always enjoyed riding with you, and whether we're in Wyoming or I remember Wednesday nights we used to go to the Equestrian Center and do the team penning.
Oh my gosh, yes,
those were a great night.
And then there were great arena polo games that Hollywood had kind of gotten into the horsey set again, which it had left for a long time. And now suddenly the Equestrian Center there, I remember I had box seats. Sly Stallone was over there, and Arnold.
Yeah, no, and we were across from you. We were on the other side.
That's right. And that was the LA Mavericks or something like that. It was like, I forget what
I don't remember.
But it was wonderful stuff.
Terrific indoor polo with only 3 riders per team.
Exciting stuff.
It's more exciting than the big field polo because you get to see all the action. They don't disappear and then they're coming back now.
They are coming back on our end. Yeah. But I think William Devane, I remember Jameson.
Yeah, Alex Ford played all the time. He'd play. If they were short on the other team, the visitor team, he would put on that outfit and
go. Yeah. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
And we did a number of team penning. We did some of the Ben Johnson rodeos.
Those were fun.
They were a ball. We were very lucky, Rob, to I've always said this, that I got to, especially once I got on How the West Was Won, I got to work with the Gene Evanses, the Jack Elams. And then Jack Elam and I went and did a little Louis Moore movie called Down the Long Hills together. All those great characters that we grew up watching, whether they were the John Ford stock company of actors. Look how we got to know Dobie Carey so well. And several festivals we did with Harry. And
Laura and I spent our honeymoon at their cabin in Durango. He fixed up their guest house. He and Marilyn fixed up the guest house for us. And
they were wonderful people. We can only still try to live up to, we'll never see their kind again.
We're the old guys now.
Yes, we are the old guys.
And nobody cares, though.
No.
I care.
But I think they still need the old guys every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of fun about it.
And I'm still getting the stories. Like the stories you've shared with us today have been great. We've touched on things that even as we're riding together, we don't talk about. So I'm glad you could join me from Nashville and we could put this together.
Yeah, it's quite exciting here. But no more ice storms for a while, okay? This was one that hasn't hit in 20, 30 years, something like this. It was a freak, and it caught everybody by surprise. But it's beautiful now. There's no snow left anymore. The lake is thawed out, off a lake, and it's all thawed out now. It was iced over 3 weeks ago. It was, snowdrift.
TV by the numbers 1000.
Bruce Boxleitner starred on this sci-fi series set in the 23rd century aboard the titled space station.
What's that?
And that would be Babylon 5. Alan, back to you.